She is shy-die no more. Princess Diana lashing out against the British press. And now for the first time, Diana's brother speaks about his royal sister. Inside Edition from London, straight ahead.
We got the story.
Next flight to Chicago.
You gotta go live.
I was then floated out onto the porch and saw a ship hovering above the porch.
They came actually out of the wall with two other gray beings.
For years, the people who claim they were abducted by UFOs have been considered the lunatic fringe. But now, this Harvard professor has written a shocking book claiming they may be right.
They're going in. Shy-Die's royal love affair is over, and now it seems the royal watchers have become the royal pests.
She went straight up to them and said, "Look, you are making my life hell."
Today, from London, Princess Di's brother speaks for the first time about who wrecked the fairy tale marriage.
The British tabloid press is the biggest cancer in British society today.
Just one question.
There are 25,000 streets in London, and these cabbies have to know every one. It's called the knowledge, and they spend years trying to get it.
6 years, 8 years, and 10 years isn't at all uncommon.
The amazing memories of the London cabbies.
2, 1. Hi, I'm Bill O'Reilly. Thanks for watching Inside Edition today, and welcome to London. We're here at Buckingham Palace, and there's nothing like a story on the royal family to get the British press really excited. But Princess Diana has had just about enough of the press, and who can blame her? A bit later on, Diana's brother tells us about the toll the tabloids have taken on his sister. For years, the British press had a love affair going with Princess Diana. She could do no wrong, and it seemed she loved the attention. But that's all changed. In recent months, there's been all-out warfare between the princess and the papers. Here's Rick Kirkham.
Lady Diana.
Shy-Di quickly seduced the world's photographers with her bashful smile, and they passionately returned her affection. But now, 13 years later, Diana has jilted the paparazzi, and it's turned into a battle royale.
She sees a photographer and she flies off the handle.
She used to see us as a necessary evil. I think now the necessary bit has come out of it, and I think she doesn't like us.
Princess Diana's brother will tell you the media brought all this on themselves by brutally hounding Diana for far too long.
I personally believe that the British tabloid press is the biggest cancer in British society today.
Few people are as close to the princess as her only brother, Earl Spencer. For the first time, he talks openly about Diana's struggle with her tabloid tormentors.
From the public's point of view, they see a very glamorous lady in the papers day in, day out. And I suppose after a while they assume that not only does she like it, but she sort of lives off it in some way. And I think that's very unfair, because you forget that however often you're in the papers, in the public eye, the really unfair negative criticism still hurts.
The 30-year-old Earl Spencer is known to his friends as Charles Althorpe. He invited us to his home, the Althorpe Estate, just north of London, to launch a scathing attack on the British press and its treatment of his sister. The Earl blames the media for the collapse of the world's most famous marriage.
The tabloid press do have a case to answer over the whole breakdown of my sister's marriage. And I know they'll reject that, and I know they say, oh, we're just doing our job. By constantly looking at every photograph that showed some expression of disapproval or whatever, which just happens in everyday life, you know, in a relationship, by making as much as they could out of each instance like that, they undermined a marriage.
That scrutiny eventually sabotaged Diana's relationship with the press itself. People used to say Princess Diana had a love affair with photographers, but that all changed drastically late last year. The princess started losing her cool, lashing out at photographers upset that they wouldn't leave her alone. The first fiery outburst happened last August. Leaving a movie with her sons, Diana spotted photographers and behaved in a manner hardly befitting a future queen.
She lost her temper, bluntly. She just lost it completely. and went rushing up to one of them and put her face in his face and said, "Go away, leave us alone. You're upsetting us."
2 months later, the increasingly fragile Diana left an official dinner in tears. But what really pushed her over the edge was this edition of London's Daily Mirror, trumpeting a Die Spy sensation, secretly taken photos of Diana at the gym.
They were not photographs which in any way were sleazy or below the belt. They showed her in a stunning light.
A friend of hers told me she felt like it was almost like inviting them into the bathroom. She said, is that going to be the next stage?
In an unprecedented step, Diana declared war, suing the Daily Mirror. And within a week of the Peeping Tom incident, Diana was telling the world how the media had taken its toll on her.
I was not aware of how overwhelming that attention would become, nor the extent to which it would affect both my public duties and my personal life in a manner that's been hard to bear.
After 13 years in the royal spotlight, the princess expected the press to now leave her alone. She knew she'd still be photographed on her official visits now and then, but when it came to her personal visits and private life, they were supposed to be off limits. Diana's attempt to find obscurity was a miserable failure. With her bodyguards now gone, she has to fend off the press herself and has kept flying off the handle at a tennis club in January and then in March skiing with her sons in Austria.
This was a full-blown confrontation. None of them were taking photographs, but she went straight up to them and said, "Look, you are making my life hell. You're making my children's lives hell. Please go away." And when they started to try and explain that they were only here doing their job, the tears flowed.
For Diana's entire royal life, she has always had cameras constantly thrust in her face. Even her brother has had his share of intrusions.
I heard a rustling and a clicking coming from a bush, and there was a photographer who was grubbing around getting illegal pictures. They were trespassing in our garden, taking pictures of me and my wife hugging each other.
Photographer Jason Fraser has little sympathy for the princess he says can be very manipulative. A few years ago, Jason says Diana turned on the tears to plead for film he'd shot of her standing outside this house with another man. Pictures she didn't want published.
I said, "Look, no, princess," but in the end I sort of succumbed, and I guess, you know, just her charm sort of worked. And I handed over the roll of film, and as I handed it over, she switched these tears off.
Diana's not only fending off the press, but also the parking police. She made a parking faux pas, and Jason was there again, capturing it on film.
She parked it there and left a message on the windscreen for the police to say, "I have broken down, please don't clamp the car," which we then photographed her getting back into the car and driving off, which was obviously a lie.
Stories like that and others have led to speculation that the media is starting to turn against Diana.
They're becoming frustrated and tired of what they see as the antics, the petulance, the neuroses.
Perhaps most hurtful was a story about Earl Spencer and Diana that told of a strained relationship between the two.
A newspaper recently said that I had written a certain letter to my sister in which I was critical of her. It's just not true. They couldn't quote from the letter because they had never seen it. Such a letter did not exist.
The recent publication of topless photos of Diana is yet another violation of her much-coveted privacy. And Earl Spencer has little hope his big sister will ever know what privacy really means.
The British tabloid press and certain sections of the rest of the British daily press, which are probably the most scurrilous bunch of journalists in any nation anywhere.
But the British press will tell you they're just doing their jobs, covering a public figure. And all too often, they've recently seen that hell hath no fury like a princess scorned. There seems to be little prospect of patching up their love affair gone horribly wrong.
She remains the most fascinating member of the royal family. People are still interested. People still want to see photographs of her. I think that means there will be a repetition of these ugly scenes we've seen over the last 6 months. I'm very sad by that. Nobody wants to reduce a Princess of Wales to tears.
And even some of the regular folks here in England are getting a bit weary of Diana. They're tired of her antics and tired of paying for her privileged lifestyle with their tax money. And we'll be right back with more from London in just a moment. London.